intro is so fucking sick. Hello, Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition and a brand new season officially of Cubs on Tap. We got a full barn tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ron Luce. I'm joined by Mr. Joey Knows Nothing, the juice man himself, Mr. Tyler Edmonds, and Mr. Nick Hudson. Gentlemen, we are officially more significantly than a week less away from opening day. How are you guys doing here on Sunday night before opening day week of Cubs baseball?
Not all at once.
No, not all at once.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. It really is. It really is. And all I can say is it's about freaking time. It's about freaking time. Ever since the end of last season, we've all been talking about this day, all the moves, all the stories, everything, all our opinions that we're going to get into later, our predictions. It's about freaking time. It's the best time of the year this week. Opening day should be a national holiday. Should be.
That's big facts. Completely agree. Nick, how you doing, buddy?
All right, I'm absolutely pumped. I am excited for some meaningful baseball games. I've been craving meaningful baseball games. With the way the Cubs left it last year, I'm hoping to see them compete this year. We got a lot of extra pieces in the offseason. I want to see it all come together on the field. I am excited.
Speaking of people that don't like spring training baseball, Juice, how you doing, buddy?
Thank God it's over. I'm doing great. I have no voice. Dude, so this weekend I was stuck up in the shithole of Milwaukee.
What?
Great wedding, and congratulations to my cousin and Catherine. They live up there. Huge Cub fans, though, by the way. Like, go to games up there at Miller or whatever family park that is, even though Milwaukee's not a family place anyway. But let me just say, Milwaukee, what a boring, terrible fucking city. Like, walking around, sad. Just a sad spot. We had to bring all the happiness around all weekend, and it snowed, and they clearly don't know how to plow some streets or do anything, of substance in that town. So I'm hoping that when the Brewers come down for opening day, the Cubs just kick their ass, because I deserve to watch their baseball team get, shoved in a locker for 3 straight games.
That's big facts. And Joey, how you doing, buddy?
Good. I said shoved in a locker, so I thought you were going to bring up the high school thing again. But I'm doing good.
Yeah,
when is your graduation there, Joe? I graduated a long time ago, but it feels like it was just yesterday for some reason. But no, man, doing good. Excited. It's time. Hit the Bruce Buffer introduction. Tyler,
don't actually say it though. He's got a trademark. We might get sued, so please don't say
it. Yeah, sorry. I just gave him credit. I
was pumped. I was ready to say it. I was ready to holler.
So yeah, no, doing good though. I'm excited, man. This is I'm definitely happy to be out of spring training. Well, soon.
Soon, yes. 2 more games officially as we sit here on Sunday night and record. They're both against the shit-stained White Sox from across town. And then it's an off day on Wednesday before, as Tyler mentioned earlier, what should be a national holiday in opening day on Thursday. At least 80% of us for sure are going to be there. I'm hoping all 100% will be there. We will address that on our own after the show and figure out all the logistics of that. But nonetheless, it's going to be exciting. We're pumped about it. And we hope all of our listeners and friends and family are as well. Just quickly to the comments before we dive into everything. Our friend here, Jeremiah, saying, "Oh, hello there," and he says, "What?" Apparently, he's upset that a quarter of his screen is not me yelling. A fifth of your screen now can be me yelling tonight, Jeremiah. And he says it's hailing outside. It was hailing here earlier. We were talking about that. Thankfully, I'm hoping that doesn't happen on Thursday. I know there's rain in the forecast. I'm going to do every ridiculous rain dance I can for the next 3 days in hopes that it stays away, at least for them to get baseball in. And then if we have to pack inside of Murphy's Bleachers or something after the game to stay out of the rain, so be it. I've figured out worse ways to avoid rain in my life before. But gentlemen, as discussed, we have a lot to talk about. We're going to dive into some of our predictions for the season and players that we think are going to lead certain categories and whatnot here in just a little bit. But something that we were all kind of talking about pre-show is what's going to kind of finally happen with the rest of this team, guys, because there's so many what ifs and crazy things yet still for this roster to be filled out, right? I don't think any of us can confidently sit here and say who's starting at third base on opening day. I think that's certainly up for discussion. We now know that Hayden Wesneski is officially the fifth starter, so Adrian Sampson was optioned to AAA. That's probably the biggest roster move related news around the Cubs here in the last couple weeks since we last recorded. I will take full responsibility for why that has not happened sooner. It's kind of fun because I feel like there's so many teams around the league that have guys that are making the roster that nobody expected, right? Like Volpe with the Yankees, their top prospect is going to make the opening day roster. I'm so pissed that Walker made the opening day roster with the Cardinals because inevitably he's going to be a Cubs killer. We just all fucking know it, or at least I know it. I can feel it in my bones. But, there's not really any of those kind of guys for the Cubs, right? Like they've already said Brennan Davis is starting the year in minors. Like there's not what was, Wesneski was probably the biggest one. But I think we as Cubs fans got to see enough of him at the end of last year where we're like, well, yeah, the dude should be on the roster. Like if he's not, it's not like oh, that's cool, he made it. It's like, no, we would be with pitchforks and axes if he didn't make it. So guys, first off, let's start there. Reactions to the pitching situation here, Wesneski being the official fifth starter. Any thoughts and comments there? And then I think we need to talk about a little bit about this third base and just kind of what happens here. And we'll let the conversation go here a little bit here. Just what happens now with the rest of the roster come opening day. Maybe any hot takes you have in terms of personnel that are making the roster, and so on and so forth. But gentlemen, I'll open the floor to you guys. Anybody that's got a thought. I mean, he's been really good in spring, so it's good to see, as Jeremiah says here, Wesneski making the opening day roster as starter number 5.
Love it. We've talked about it on this show for the past, 3 episodes. I think we've all been calling for Wesneski. And what makes it even sweeter is the fact that, like, all spring long, David Ross has talked about how he feels already like he's almost like a vet. Like he's got that mentality to him, and you love to see that. Now, I won't go too far into my thoughts on him just because I might be saving that for a prediction later. Yeah, man, love it. Now, with that being said, with Javier Assad, that guy was legit during the WBC as well. And like he dominated, especially during his last 2 outings, and he just showed, yeah, Wesneski can be a fifth starter. Assad can be a starter when he needs to be, but Assad also showed that, hey, I can throw you guys some, multiple innings out of the bullpen as well. So with Wesneski getting the starting spot doesn't really necessarily mean that's a downgrade for Assad, because Assad can still be a nasty weapon on this pitching staff. Yeah, but I'm happy for Wesneski, man. He deserved it.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm glad you brought up Assad, because I do think, if anything, that WBC performance might have been something that the Cubs wanted to see, right? Like, hey, we've had him start, and he's pretty exclusively, even in the minors, been a starter. What does he look like coming out of the pen? Yeah. And like you said, Ty, I mean, he was, and
especially against guys like, and this is no knock on who Wesneski faced, but especially against some of the hitters that Assad faced in the WBC, like all-star MVP caliber hitters,
right?
And did very well.
Yeah, 100%. Joey, any thoughts?
Yeah, he definitely was like mowing through that USA lineup, so that was awesome to see with Assad. But we kind of talked about it a little bit beforehand. I'm wondering if they don't send him down though, for the reason that because he's one of those guys that has options, and if you want to stick with what you got right now, which you are as far as the 5-man goes, or for the rotation, if you want to keep him as a starting pitcher and see what he's got and stretch him out even further as a starting pitcher, you can do that now and put him in AAA and see what he can do, and then maybe call him back up. But I would love him out of that bullpen role too, because he's shown that he can do that, like you were saying, Tyler. But so deserving for Wesneski. I mean, yeah, he's got the all ceiling as far as any of those guys go in the rotation. So you look at what he's done this spring, and it's kind of funny watching just different people talk about the Cubs, people that cover the team and this and that, about how he needed to incorporate another pitch, and he really hasn't done that as far as that goes this spring. But he has topped out at, I think, 97 was his fastball, which that's an increase right there for the fastball. But a lot of those strikeouts are still coming on the slider because it's that fucking nasty, Wes Nasty. And I mean, maybe that's just who he is. It doesn't really matter. Maybe I know he's going through some of these lineups are minor league level type of lineups that he's facing in the spring. So it's not necessarily, you're not going to look at this and be like, oh, he's going to do this all season long. But who's to say he can't without incorporating another pitch? And it's not like he was specifically a 2-pitch pitcher last year. He did mix and match with the different variations of fastballs. So, I mean, I love it, man. I love it. I absolutely think that he could be the X factor in this rotation. If he really takes off and the staff stays healthy, I think this pitching staff is in really good shape from a starting standpoint.
Yeah, 100%. And quickly, Joey, our buddy, Mr. Jake Bujanowski, over at our friends over at Dingers. If you haven't checked them out yet, be sure to
It's
do
every
so.
day.
Yeah, he wanted to know why you're a maniac sipping coffee at 8:30. Yeah, that is Joey every day, Jake. I can't tell you how many shows you and I did last year, and you were like drinking coffee at like 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, I don't understand you, but that is what it is.
I still go to bed. I don't know how.
Hey, that's good. That's all that matters. Juice, what you got for us on the Wesnaski?
I've said it on the show over the course of spring training and even last year. If you don't let him on the roster, you pretty much announced to your fan base and to the team that the best 5 weren't going to be out there every day. And that's not fair to, guys who are trying to win this year. I mean, we're going to get in these predictions and talk about where we feel the team is at. But let's wrap our minds around the fact that like those guys are going to go out every game this year and try to win it, and they have expectations to make the playoffs and see how far they can go. That's just what this team is going to have the mindset of, because that's David Ross 101, right? For guys like me and you, Ron, who sat and read Teammate, followed David Ross really closely. He doesn't like to lose, and he likes to compete, and he gets these guys going. And with a young team like this too, with some sprinkled veterans in like Dansby Swanson, who know how to win, these guys aren't going to want to lose. So great for him and great for the organization to get it right and not put, the idea of setting him down and saying that he needs to work on a third pitch, because that can come with time. There is going to be a time, Joey, and I agree with you in some set, that he's going to have to figure out another pitch. And I think a lot for left-handed lineups. That's just my 2 cents on it.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. But I think just good for the Cubs, and kudos to the Cubs for like putting their team in the best situation for this year to start. And it's going to open up like a bunch of conversations now that he's here. And if he outperforms, like there's some guys coming back with, some big name merit to their name. And we were talking about it off air with Kyle Hendricks. Like, if everything goes smoothly, what do you do with him when he does come back? And it's questions like these that we start to have. And there's questions at the third base side. I think they're pretty set there. They can platoon pretty easily at both corner spots. But yeah, good for the Cubs for giving Hayden the opportunity to start this year, because he absolutely he's deserved it and earned it. And let's see how far this guy's career can go.
100%. Nick, any additional points here on Wesnaski?
Heck yeah, I 100% agree with Juice on that. It's a refreshing thing to see that the Cubs are showing their fan base they want to win. By solidifying that 5th spot with Wes Nasty, you're showing us you want to win. That slider is just absolutely, as you know, nasty. So we saw flashes last year, and spring training was going to be a time in which we knew he was going to have to prove himself. And we were just hoping, all 5 of us, I'm sure, we're just hoping that the Cubs were going to make the right decision after he showed us of what he can do. So it's great to see. And I'm just glad to see that the Cubs made the right decision here. And Juice is 100% right. It's showing us that they are ready to win. And the depth at that pitching spot, as Tyler touched on it with Assad, it just makes me so happy because on the other side of town, we were talking before, the White Sox, disastrous. I mean, if you have a guy, God forbid, go down, you have someone right behind that can be fully capable in filling that spot and maybe even launching their career even higher. There are guys hungry right now. So it's just great to see, but I'm really happy for Hayden. From the very start of spring, he was a guy that I was looking at to do great things, and he's just blown those expectations out of the water for me.
Yeah, and speaking of great things, just quick numbers on what Wesneski did in spring. 3-1 record, take that for what it is, but those 3 wins are a team best. A 2.12 ERA, which is among the best on the team. He made 5 starts, mind you. 17 innings pitched. The only player to pitch more innings was, ironically, Adrian Sampson. 13 hits allowed in those 5 games, but only 4 earned runs, 6 walks, and he led the team with 22 strikeouts in spring. There is nobody within 5 of that. Ty Allen was number 2 with 18 in 4 starts. So he went out and proved it, right? Like, this wasn't just, hey, all 3 of the guys for the 5th starter spot weren't great. He was just the best of them all. I mean, he dominated. He was unreal in spring. The only outing I can really think of that he got beat up a little bit was that Dodgers outing. And even then, he still didn't pitch atrociously by any stretch of imagination. So agree with you guys there. And Juice, you touched on it, and I kind of want to get back to it, right? Like, now that they have the 5th starter spot figured out, we all are confident in the depth behind that as well, in case something happens to one of these 5 starters during the year. But really, the last spot now that we have to worry about, and you kind of brought a good point up too that I admittedly didn't really even think of, especially now while Seiya Suzuki is on the shelf, at least for a few weeks. Probably will see more Trey Mancini in right field, at least for what you would think, or at least at DH. Juice mentioned platoon at the corners, not just at third base, right? We're still figuring out who the hell is playing third base on opening day. But at the corners, and I think that's an interesting point because we were all sitting here pre-show and wondering, how does this team roster a guy like Eric Hosmer when you have so many guys that are arguably deserving of being on the roster, which, again, great problem to have. Great problem to have. And, Nick, I want to start with you. We'll go a little bit reverse order here. I mean, what do you think they're going to do with the corner spot? Do you think there's certain guys that are going to play more at third than at first? Do you think it's going to be a full-blown platoon at both spots? Do you think one guy's going to run away with a job maybe at another spot? Just kind of walk me through your thoughts on what the corner spots look like here for this Cubs team, that they're going to have to figure out really who's going to play those, in the next 3 days, at least for the near term, going forward. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, like you said, you're going to have to figure this out. With first base starting, for me, Trey Mancini is definitely an option, but you have to look at the glove. I mean, Eric Hosmer, you can't take it away from him. He is a Gold Glove first baseman. It's tough to take that out, but Trey Mancini is just much better plate appearances out of Trey Mancini. He gives you that, and you can DH him, but I'd rather see him in the lineup and playing first. But if they keep Hosmer, you're talking about choosing defense over offense for sure. With that position, with third base, Wisdom, I don't see how you don't run with him day one. I love Patrick Wisdom for third base. I think he could be very good. Seiya being hurt, you can move around Trey Mancini, as you said. He can go out to the outfield and just to keep him in the lineup there. But yeah, I think it's going to definitely depend. It's not going to stay the same, obviously, from day one of opening day and on. But I think you can play the platoon game here and there. But overall, a guy's going to win the position. And I think Trey Mancini definitely could win the spot of first base because your glove can only get you so far, especially in this league now. So we already have a very good defense. So it's like you'd rather take a better plate appearances, more contact, more on base percentage than the glove here and there. So that's my thoughts on that.
100%. Juice. I mean, I'm really interested to hear your thoughts because again, you're the one that brought up the platoon idea. For both corner spots. Again, I think it's really interesting, especially from first base. I feel like that's a spot that, although there's multiple guys that can play there, I feel like nobody's been talking about the idea of a platoon at first. It's all been hyper focused on third base all spring training.
Well, I think too, realistically, you have two types of players at that as well. You have the prototypical, corner power hitter, and then you have the defensive guy that for both different positions are going to be, fitter. I think when the Cubs, and this is just manager type guy mind I have, I think when you're playing at home and you're playing in April, the defense probably means a little bit more because there's just naturally going to be less runs scored. It's cold. People are coming out of spring training. There was the WBC. So who knows how that's going to affect, some of these hitters as well who are coming out who didn't get normal work like they normally do. So I think that ends up being maybe a time where you play Eric Hosmer more often than not. Now the Cubs do go on a West Coast trip earlier on in the year here where they're going to play the Dodgers and the A's on the road in warmer temperatures. Maybe then that's where you break out the hitting lineup. I'm hoping that David Ross has two different types of runs. It's the defensive, we're playing at home, we're going to try to win with pitching and defense because that, as we've talked about on this team and we've talked about on the show, that's probably going to be the Cubs' strength, right? They're going to play really great defense, run prevention, and they're going to have, the arms 1 through 5 to compete every day. Now, when you're going into like a West Coast where it's going to be nice and the ball's probably flying a little bit more, maybe you can take chances and add more of that power into the lineup. And I think that's what we'll see over the course of this first month. I think we'll see an array of different lineups. I don't think that we're going to see – it's almost going to be like going back to the Joe Madden days. Remember when it was almost like a new lineup every day and we were seeing different guys rotated in and out? I think that in the beginning here, there's so many things that spring training didn't figure out for this team that they're going to have to figure them out over the course of a couple weeks here. And if I were going to divvy it up and be the team that tries to maximize win totals in crappy weather, I'm throwing the defensive lineup out there. And when we go on the West Coast trip, I'm starting to get more experimental. And that's why I think like a platoon spot with Rios and with Eric Hosmer at first too is something that we can play around with because he does play both third and first. So it would be interesting to see, ride the hot hand, but when we need more offense, maybe you pack the lineup with Rios and Wisdom on a day and give Hosmer the night off. And maybe you have to, flex Morel out to the outfield when you're playing those bigger outfields, like in Oakland, like in around, the more spacious parks that maybe they see on the West Coast. So that's just my initial thoughts on how I would play the manager game if this were my team. Now, when it gets to May, they better figure out it's got to be some sort of everyday starter because that's just you don't see teams that platoon like this and win consistently. Like
right.
Most of the time it's your 9 guys that are helping you win series. So
yeah, got to figure it out. Agreed. And also worth noting to your point about the West Coast trip, also in April, they head to Miami as well. So again, playing to that favorable, bring the offense out and see what happens. Tyler, what you got?
I will be there at one of those games in Miami.
There you go. That's right. You were telling us about that. I'm so jealous. I'm not even going to lie to you. I'm so incredibly jealous. But Tyler,
I'm going to get a ticket for probably like a quarter.
Probably. Well, speaking of quarter, I want your 2 cents on this situation, Tyler. I mean, what do you got in terms of the corner
spots? And Ross kind of talked about it, I believe, yesterday. So Seiya Suzuki is looking like that his recovery is going faster than I guess expected. Doesn't mean he's going to come back sooner or any earlier, because Ross talked about how he still plans to stick with the plan of, being patient with them, slowly letting them, gradually work his way in. But I still think he's expected sooner than expected. With that being said, I like the whole month of April. Sucks to hit at Wrigley. So yeah, I like, going with the gloves is always a great idea. Eric Hosmer, he has the track record as far as being, I guess, the best fielding first baseman there. But with that being said, I think that Hosmer, with his contract being what it is, I think he also has the shortest leash. I think by the middle of May, kind of like with what you said, as far as figuring stuff out, if Hosmer hasn't figured it out by the middle of May, especially when it's time for Suzuki to come back, because you got we've talked Rios, we've talked Wisdom playing first, we've talked Hosmer playing first. Hell, Trey Mancini can play first. We so many guys we haven't even mentioned him, which I think he'll probably play a little bit of right to start off the season, just because I think him, and even they talked about Wisdom possibly playing right. And hell, we haven't even talked about Nick Madrigal. There's so many guys, and I think Jeremiah talked about, Mastroboni and McKinstry. There's so many options that I feel like just out of all of them, Hosmer has the shortest leash. Mm-hmm. If that guy's not hitting the ball, and a good glove is great, but at the end of the day, if you're not hitting, look at Jason Hayward, for example, Gold Glove outfielder. That, his bat, couldn't keep him. He couldn't keep himself in the lineup mainly because of his bat. Same situation with Hosmer. Gold Glove guy, veteran player, all that kind of stuff, former World Series champion, everything like that. But at the end of the day, if he's not hitting the ball by the middle of May, wouldn't shock me if the Cubs decided to go away with him just because there's so many other options out there. But with that being said, I like Rios. I don't care if the guy's playing third, first, wherever. I just like that potential, man. I love the potential he has. I'd be fine with, him and Wisdom platooning at third base. I still think Hosmer is going to make the opening day lineup. I think we'll see him on opening day. I think Juice talked about it earlier about, we're playing a few episodes ago. Corbin Burns facing him. I could see Rios, Hosmer, a big old stack of lefties in the lineup. And I'm on the Edwin Rios train, and I am saying that, Hosmer, all eyes on you, buddy, because I believe he has, like I said, he's got the shortest leash.
100%. I like what you brought up about the Seiya coming back, because somebody inevitably is going to need to be DFA'd off the 40-man to activate him. And as Jeremiah brought up in the comments earlier, we showed it on the screen here live. Seiya taking BP. He is a little ahead, I think, of where a lot of people expect him.
And hell, by the way, sorry to interrupt you, Christopher Morel too. That's another option that, I know he's not going to play first, but just another guy that we've got to consider in this whole entire thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if there's a day that maybe one of Wisdom or Rios are playing first, maybe the other's DHing. If Mancini's out and right, there's a very good possibility that a guy like Morel gets the nod at third base on a certain day. So absolutely, I think that's certainly a possibility. Joey, what else do you have for us on the corner situation?
You guys pretty much said a lot of the things I was thinking. I just don't know why we have to go with Hosmer to start the season, even though we're talking about defense first, and with the way this team's built, and April being hard to hit, especially at Wrigley in April, and you kind of want maybe the importance on defense. It's the defense is so good around the infield that do you really care who's at first base defensively? Not to say you don't, but it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, how many throwing errors do you think Dansby Swanson's going to make, or Nico Horner's going to make now at second base, or, maybe Morel at third, maybe even Madrigal at third, but he's looked decent at third, and he's probably not your starting third baseman for sure. So I'm like, man, we were all kind of, okay, a 1-year minimum contract, whatever, that's fine. We're not upset about it, when the signing was made. I'm still not upset about it. But at the same time, it's you are kind of clogging a spot now at this point. And maybe it won't turn out that way. Maybe he comes out and he's has these clutch moments where he produces early on and he, has a nice 2-out RBI single or something, or, maybe that's the case. So I don't want to like write him off. He is a pro. He is a guy that does annually kind of hit in that 330 OBP kind of range or whatever. But it's like, man, I'm with you guys. Edwin Rios, Patrick Wisdom, these guys are showing you something in spring. We know Wisdom's had the power. We've seen it on display many times. Rios as well now this spring. So what do you do with those spots? I don't know. It's a very interesting topic because, I brought off air. We kind of went through the list here of guys and Jeremiah, and they're pointing out in the comments, but you kind of have two spots, it feels like, on the bench that you're looking at now with Seiya going on the IL. And how long is that going to be that Seiya is on the IL? Well, we don't really know that for sure, but it kind of feels like an auditioning type of period. And then you go back to who has the options and who are you willing to cut ties with. I kind of feel like McKinstry's a guy you can cut ties with at this point. I mean, yes, you traded Chris Martin for him, but it was Chris Martin. Like, what did you really trade for him? I mean, and Jeremiah says it here, Mastroboni over McKinstry. I kind of agree with that. I know McKinstry can play outfield. I know so can Mastroboni, though. So, and he does have the options. So now if you eliminate both those two, does Tauchman make it? Is he your right fielder? And then you have Rios. I mean, we're not talking outfield really right now. We're talking the corner spots, but it all kind of – the puzzle kind of goes with everything. You kind of look at everything as a whole and say, where are your weaknesses? Power going into this offseason was a weakness. You brought in Bellinger. Mancini should hit some home runs. Wisdom, we know when healthy, hits home runs. Edwin Rios can hit home runs. I don't know. It's a tough decision, and I really don't want to say, well, Hosmer's just trash, because he's not trash. He does fill a void for some team out there. Is that the Cubs, though? Because you have a bunch of first base, third base options. I just don't really know if he has a fit on this team, especially if Matt Mervis, who's to say he doesn't go down there and rake at AAA, and you want him up in May, not that you're relying on it, but I don't know. It's going to be fun it's going to be interesting to see what they do with these spots.
100%. And friend of the program, Mr. Scott Crawford, is saying April 18th, Matt Mervis will be the starting first baseman. Maybe not that early, but to your point, though, it's still something they're going to have to keep an eye on. If Mervis goes down and hits 300 for the month of April in AAA Iowa, who's to say he's not on the team in May? Right. You know what I mean? They can absolutely make room. And Scott also brings up, because I hate to say it, but Hosmer could be the VR of 2023. Woof, that's a painful comment. That is a painful comment to read. But to your point, Joey, you brought up a great point when it comes to Wisdom and Rios. And I just want to rattle off a couple of stats. I know it's spring training, so bear with me. But Rios, the average wasn't great in spring. In 17 games, 42 at-bats officially, a 214, 327, 571 split. That's still an 898 OPS. I mean, you're going to take that every single day, from your guys, no matter where they're, hitting in the lineup. And he also is tied for the team lead in home runs with 4. And then right behind him in 15 games, 37 at-bats, slashing 351, 478, 649 with 3 bombs, which is tied for second on the team, is Patrick Wisdom. Like, these two guys were hitting really well in spring. Again, it's spring. Just because a guy hits well in spring doesn't mean dick. We've seen it time and time again. Like, am I worried that Dansby Swanson's going to hit 100 late in the season like he is right now? Probably not. Tyler might be. Apparently, he's on record saying he's concerned about Dansby's bat. Sorry, buddy. I was going to bring that one up at some point here. Yeah. But
wait. Let him defend himself about that real quick.
Yeah. So what was the context of that?
Okay. Here's the thing. There's a video going around on the World Wide Web, and that's the thing. First of all, that's the thing. You can't believe everything that you see on the intranet.
You're not a French model? You're not a French model?
YouTube. I didn't say that. I mean, not everything. Some things are true. So MLB The Show came out last Thursday night. And I'm a big Diamond Dynasty guy. And I was doing a draft. There's a mode called Showdown, and I'm drafting players. And there's just some players that I hit better with than others. And there may or may have not been footage of me picking Corey Seager over Dansby Swanson. But that's not. I'm not worried about Dansby Swanson. I just hit better with Corey Seager. So there's people out there. I don't know if they're anti-Cubs fans, if they're anti-Sox fans, that are putting words in my mouth. They are putting thoughts in Cubs fans out there about me towards Dansby Swanson. And I just want to say right now, because I know Dansby's listening, that's not true, man. It's not true. Okay? It's not. I believe in you. We all believe in you. You're going to be there day one. You're going to be there all the way to day 162, game 162. So I'm not worried about you, Dansby. I'm not. Just know that there are people out there, people that are trying to just rattle my cage, and it's not going to happen. It's not.
Tyler, I think that they're just a little jealous of you because you actually have a real shortstop opposed to, their shortstop plays better defense at second base. So that's
and it's like
here and there.
Exactly. Like, who is, I won't even say that team's name because y'all said it earlier and I was like, who? Like, I won't even say who that team is, but like, who even is their shortstop? Like, who? I don't know.
Nico Horner was better than him last season.
I think the problem here is that people that may or may not be under the same umbrella of a brand that we are trying to label you a villain, Tyler, wrongly.
They are.
We can't have that. We cannot have that.
We'll not allow, especially not this holy week. Out of all the weeks of weeks, this week right here, the holiest of all weeks. Not going to happen. Not going to bring me down. No, sir. No, sir.
Jeremiah
with
a legendary comment. The WWW is a thing. You are correct. Scott also saying hashtag Teddy Swanson, a match made in heaven. That might be a thing on opening day.
Ooh, Teddy Swanson. I like that.
A little Teddy Swanson. And Scott from the top rope also saying one Tim Anderson is the third best shortstop in Chicago. That's a belly flop from the top rope from our boy Scott from Iowa here. From the top rope.
Hey, can I ask you guys a question before we move on off this shortstop subject real quick?
Sure.
Somebody posed to me, they didn't even pose it, they just said that Tim Anderson had a better glove at shortstop and more power than Javier Baez. He's not with us anymore, but I mean, like, the numbers don't really back that up, do they? Like, does Anderson even have a 20 home run season in his career? I don't.
That's a fair question.
Wouldn't know.
Second there.
And I feel like he was leading the league in errors. Yeah,
I was gonna say. I think from the defensive standpoint, that was just a load of bullshit.
He's had 120 home run season.
One.
Okay. There we go.
I think the biggest trait that Anderson has that makes him a good player is his hit tool. Like, he's always hitting for high average.
Mm-hmm.
He's always hitting above 300. Like, that's the one thing you can guarantee out of Tim Anderson is he is going to hit the ball. However, like, yeah, he's an okay power guy, but he's not going to give you elite power numbers. Excuse me. He's not an elite defensive player. He's okay. I mean, he's not atrocious, but he's never going to, in my opinion, he's never going to win a Gold Glove. And then on top of it, I think the biggest thing, I think he would be a much better player personally in that argument if he had an elite on base percentage as well to go with his hit tool, then I would say, sure, I think he has a better bat than Javier Baez, even though the power is not the same. But however, if you look at his OBP, he'll hit 316 and his OBP is like 360 something. Like, he does not walk. And that is one of his probably biggest errors, because then he doesn't have the power making up for it, right? Yeah. Don't get me wrong, Javi don't walk either.
Can I name that off for you real quick? Not to this isn't a White Sox. Oh, that's the team. Yeah, the White Sox. This isn't a White Sox podcast. But just to go to your point, Ron, let me just I'll just say off, I'm just going to name them in a row, like his walks per season. 13. And that 13's in 146 games.
Shit.
We're at 30, and then 15, 10. I guess that was 2020. 22 and 14.
Yeah, he just all he does is hit. He doesn't walk.
He
But
don't walk.
but like you said though, I think Anderson's bat all around is better. Just the power was where I was
I would
like,
say his contact is better.
yeah.
Yeah, his
He's
contact's
solid.
better. I mean, you got to remember, Javi was putting up big bomb seasons. You know, I think last year's an anomaly. Last year, he was just dog shit. Let's just call it what it is. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Javi had a bad year last year.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's playing in the shit stain that is Detroit. I couldn't tell you.
Could
But,
be, maybe, possibly.
You know, or to the new contract, a little bit of that big contract
Yeah,
pressure.
dude.
I don't know. But it's a fair argument. It's something to see. But now, of those in Chicago, yeah, I'd put him third. Why not? I don't
Yeah,
hate it.
sure.
We got Nico and we got Dansby, and I absolutely love it. But gentlemen, let's get into some of the fun with this whole team here, and it's the prediction time. So I sent out to Juice has been waiting for this. Juice has been waiting for this. Let's get into it. First off, I want to know. Well, I'm going to add a couple to it. We'll go down the list here of our picks for each of these subjects that we pose to each other in our group chat. But keep in mind, I'm going to leave these for the end. But I also am going to ask you guys for a record prediction before the end of the season from this Cubs team. I am going to ask you for your player that you're most excited to watch before the end of the show. And then I might find one last question to kind of throw in there as a curveball at you guys. But we're going to get into it because each of us have talked it through. So we're going to go ahead and list off. We're going to go one by one. I think it's fun just to keep it topic by topic where we hear from everybody. But for those that are listening or watching along with us live, we're going to have our batting champ pick. So that is average home run leader, RBI leader, OPS leader. And then from a pitching perspective, our ERA leader and K leader. And then from also a stolen base leader as well from a base running perspective. So those are what we are all going to sit here and pick. I'm sure we're going to have some duplicates. We're going to have some differences. We're going to, I would say, probably try to do this as quick fire as possible. Obviously, give a little bit of thought and analysis here, but we want to be able to make sure we get through all of these and this show not be 3.5 hours. Although we probably absolutely could make it 3.5 hours if we totally wanted to. So, gentlemen, with batting champ in mind, I'll just throw it around the horn here. We'll go Nick, Juice, Joey, Tyler, and I'll always go last. That just makes it easier from a transition standpoint. So, Nick, who is your selection for batting champ for this Cubs team in 2023?
Yeah, I have Horner for sure. I have him making a big jump and just being the guy. I want him to be the guy on the Cubs. I think he has the macho ability. He could do it all. He's not going to hit for power, but he has that charisma. He brings something to the team. So I have him as the batting champ.
I like it. I like it. Juice?
Ian Happ. I'm going to take the one with the least amount of things behind it that I'm worried about. And not to say that I'm worried about any of these guys, but consistency is key. And I think Ian Happ is the most consistent out of the group.
I like it. Joey?
Yeah, I'm going with Horner for the batting champ because I think he is Tim Anderson in that way where he can just spray the ball over the place, doesn't walk a ton. He just hits. The guy just hits. So, and he's hitting leadoff this year. So I think his main focus, even though we want him to put on more power, is definitely still going to be to make contact and hit line drives.
100%. Tyler?
So when you say, real quick, because I was kind of, when you say batting champ, you're saying home run, RBI, OPS leader, right? Or just
No, those are all separate. This is just
okay,
average.
gotcha. Okay,
Batting
gotcha.
average. Batting average.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with everybody. Nico Horner.
Yeah.
The guy's gonna show off this year. All-star.
Yeah. Jeremiah's also got Nico. And Scott also has Nico saying that Nico's going to hit 309. If Nico hits 309, Scott, I'll come up with something. We'll come up with some hooligan shit. But I would be pumped if Nico hits 309. I also have Horner. I like the little difference out of you, though, Juice. I appreciate that. I'm glad it wasn't a clean sweep for Nico. But I think it'll be Nico as well. I just hunch tells me that I think he hits 300 this year. I really do.
He's got a hunch.
I got a hunch. I think it's going to be 300. Home run leaders. We'll go reverse order. So, Tyler, I'll let you lead this off first. Who's your pick to lead in
Boys.
bombs?
I'm believing this year. Cody Bellinger.
I love that. I love that so much. Belly bombs. Joey.
Yeah, that's my pick too. I think I wrote that down right. Did I write down Bellinger? I'm trying to remember what I had. Yeah, I had Bellinger. I do think he's going to hit a ton of bombs, man. His average might not be great. He might not get on base at the clip that you want him to, or maybe he used to. I don't think he's going to get back to that level, but I think he's probably hitting 30-plus bombs. And with Seiya starting out on the IL, we'll take that. We'll take Belly as the leader there, I think.
Nice. I like it. Juice.
I want to take Belly so bad, but he's left-handed at Wrigley Field. And we've talked about this so many times. He's going to have to go opposite field. I'm going to take a off the wall, and it's a guy who I think is ascending, and I'm going to take Dansby Swanson because if you take the home runs that he would have hit at Wrigley Field from last year, he would have hit around 32. So I think that there's a good possibility that he's up there, and I'm going to take Dansby Swanson.
I dig it. Nick.
Yeah, I had Bellinger as well. I think he's going to just come back and be that. I just hope that MVP form just come back and, prove himself. He's got the contract to prove it and come back and do it. So I hope he hits 30 plus, as Joey was saying. I hope that happens, but that's who I have.
I like it. Scott has his home run leaders. He has Hap with a whopping 38. I love Scott's charisma. I wish I had it all the time. He says Belly will hit 35. Wisdom hits 32. And Jeremiah says if he plays a full year with the Cubs, 35. Oh, yeah. Scott loves Patrick Wisdom. Juice, you know that. Jeremiah says if in relation to Bellinger. I'm actually going to tail Juice here. I also had Swanson. I think it's going to be Dansby. I think it's going to be close, though. I see a world where Dansby hits 33 and Bellinger hits 30. I think that's not out of the realm of possibility. But again, I have to agree with Juice here. Again, especially if you look at the home runs that Belly hit in spring training, they're pull shots. They're absolute monsters. He's been going the other way, but it's been more via the doubles and the singles, which, again, not against by any stretch of imagination. I just think the power numbers are going to favor a guy like Dansby Swanson. So I also had Swanson as my home run leader pick. We'll go to RBIs now. Again, we'll go back in reverse order. So, Nick, who is your RBI leader this year for the Cubs?
Yeah, I had Horner as well. He puts the ball in play.
Ooh.
So turn over the lineup, guys on base. I think he's a guy that could rack up a bunch of RBIs.
I like that. That's a spicy take. I'm a fan of that. Juice, who you got?
Ian Happ.
Nice. Short, sweet to the point. Yeah. I like it. Joey. Not that he's on mute or anything.
I knew I was on mute, but I couldn't get my finger to the button fast enough. But I wasn't expecting Juice to be like, yep, Ian Happ. I'm gonna go with Dansby Swanson. I think I like your guys' points about the home run too. The only reason I was between him and Bellinger, and I thought, okay, Wisdom could, but Wisdom's probably not going to get the regular everyday playing time that we want to get the home run total up.
Agreed.
I was thinking Dansby could hit the home runs because the reason why I faded that, though, is new big contract, new team. Usually you don't see that. Bellinger, I think, has the more natural power, even though he's the lefty. I think Dansby has a ton of power, but I think the RBIs are going to be there because Nico should be on base and stealing second just about all the time or getting doubles. So I like Dansby for the RBIs.
Sounds like the old the 80s with Sandberg driving.
Get him on, get him over, get him in.
Get him on, get him over, get him in. Tyler, who do you got for our RBI leader?
I'm going back to Cody Bellinger. Minus Ian Happ, last season, he would have had the most RBIs on the team. And I think this year he's got that prove it to me contract, and he's going to prove it. I'm believing doing it.
I like it. Scott from Iowa says Happ with his 125, which, again, if you go based on his 38 home runs for Happer, that's pretty in line with what you probably get out of him. RBIs, Jeremiah's got Mancini as the RBI leader. That's kind of a spicy one that I'm a fan of.
Yeah, I could see that too, actually.
I am going to tail Tyler here. I also had Bellinger as my RBI leader. I feel like because he's probably going to be hitting a lot in that 5 hole or even the 6 hole, those guys in the 1, 2, 3, 4 are going to be getting on. So I think that's a perfect opportunity where if Bellinger's going to come up and hit big, that's where he's going to be able to drive in some of those runs. OPS, we'll go back around the horn. Tyler, who do you have?
Real quick, Ron?
Yes.
Real quick. If Cody Bellinger leads in RBIs, the Cubs are making the playoffs. Just going to say it right now.
Giggity.
That's my hot take.
I like that.
I like
That's
that.
spicy. I'm a fan. That's what we'll do. I need one season hot take at the end of the show. That's a good way to go out. Thank you. C Juice, you're inspiring us even without even doing it on purpose. All right, Tyler, who is your OPS
Wait, what?
leader? OPS leader.
I'm going to go with what I tweeted a few weeks ago. Mount Suzuki will come back and erupt this season. He's going to be the OPS leader. Say
Mount
LZ.
Suzuki. I love
Oh, yeah.
that. That's amazing. Joey, who do you got?
Oh man, that's tough because I really wasn't even thinking about Suzuki because he's starting out on the IL. So I like that pick a lot. I'm gonna go with Hap though for the OPS leader. I think he's generally near the top for the Cubs out of this group of players. He's probably usually the highest.
Juice?
Ian Happ.
Nick, who do you got?
I'm going with Happer as well.
Okay, I am also going with Hap. That was my thing. I love Juice just straight to the jugular with all of these. Just Hap. Go for it. Quickly from the comments, Jeremiah says Swanson for OPS. And then Mr. Scott Crawford has Nico as well for OPS. So that's certainly an interesting one. But again, if it happens, I'm not mad about it. All right, ERA. And I picked a starter and a reliever. So if you have a starter and reliever for each of these, feel free to share them. Joey, I got that inspiration from you, so thank you for that. So with that in mind, Nick, we'll start with you again, buddy. Who are your ERA leaders for starter and then reliever?
Yeah, so for starter, I'm definitely going Justin Steele. I think he's gonna definitely have a great year. For reliever, I hope they go with like we said, I hope Javier Assad is in that bullpen. I really do. That's what I'm hoping. And then I'm taking Javier Assad because coming out on the WBC out of the bullpen in that situation against that caliber of a lineup and looking like that, I mean, give it to me all day. So I'm taking him.
I like it. Juice.
I'm gonna go for the rotation. I'll take Marcus Stroman. They did so much this offseason to shore up the infield, and that Sanker going to be sanking. So I'm excited about that. And then for the bullpen, I'm going to take a real dark horse. Joey, you turned me on to this by writing about Edward Alzolay and the whiff and all the soft contact on the slider. I'm taking Edward Alzolay.
I like it. Joey.
Well, I love that pick. That's my bullpen pick is Alzolay because I do think that it's just one of those things where I think he can just be that much more effective. I know I just stumbled and mumbled and I don't know what I just said, but I think he can be that dynamic and effective. And I honestly wouldn't be shocked if, say, some of these guys that you expect to be in the closer, quote unquote, role committee. What if Alzolay is that guy? What if it's just him that's just that dynamite? And in short spurts, man, I think he could easily be, if healthy, a guy that's in the under twos discussion for ERA. So I love Alzolay. I think rotation, you guys already said it too. Justin Steele, man. I think he's coming into it towards the end of spring. He really started to get back into what he did best, starting to find himself or get ready for the season. So, I love Justin Steele. We know he's a friend of the program, but I think he's in for a big year this year.
Hey, there's no shame in liking friends of the program. That's all I got to say. Tyler, who do you got?
I'll be honest. I was going to say Alzolay as far as the reliever, but just to be different, let's go Keegan Thompson. I know his fastball, his velocity has been down a little bit, but still he hasn't given up a run all spring training. Let's go with him. I want to see him return to what he was last year, and I think he can do it. I've got to go with Justin Paulson Steele for the start.
Got an airplane in the background.
It's like a motorcycle rally behind my house. God, I live in the county.
I thought that was me. I get that all the time too, Tyler.
Somebody's car alarm was going off too over here, and I thought you guys were hearing it. I had to keep hitting the mute.
But yeah, Justin Steele has only gotten better every single season. And by the way, going back to MLB The Show, SDS, you guys did him dirty again, and he's fixing to turn it around and let you guys know real quick that y'all made a mistake in his rating. But yeah, let's go Justin Balls of Steel for starting pitcher ERA.
I like it. I like it. Quickly to the comments. Jeremiah says Steele and Merriweather are his picks for starter and reliever. And then Scott's going Wes Nasty and Keegan. So following along with what you said there, Tyler, about
And
Keegan
Patrick
Thompson.
Wisdom.
And Patty Wise is going to throw goose eggs all year.
Well, teams might have the lowest ERA against him. Pitchers.
Hey,
might.
I'll tell
We'll
you
see.
what, I wish I could love something as much as Scott loves Patrick Wisdom. That's all I got to say. Like that burning passion to love a player like that. And I know it helps too, because you got to see a lot of them in Iowa and things like that. And that's how you can develop that like affection for players. And I love that. And again, that's why we love people, that are in minor league cities jumping into our comments, because you see these guys first. Like Juice, you get to see all these kids in South Bend first before we do. So it's part of the fun. But hey, man, I mean, maybe he will. Maybe he'll get an Anthony Rizzo appearance and pitch goose eggs. And technically, he might qualify. I have Stroman as well, Juice, to your point with the starting pitching. I think, the sinker is going to be sinking. I think it's going to be close between him and Steele. I really do. I don't think it's going to be an astronomical gap between the two, but I think Stroh's just going to narrowly edge him out. And I think it's because of the inducing the ground balls and really utilizing that middle infield defense that they have now with Swanee and Nico. And then I am also going to go with Javier Assad. If he is in the pen, I think that's a guy that's a huge candidate. I think what we saw out of him in the WBC and in spring, he cut down on his walk numbers, which was his biggest issue last season. And yet he was still effective, had a very reasonable ERA despite the walk numbers. So if he's going to cut down on those, I would have to imagine that ERA number is only going to improve. Strikeout numbers. We can do, I think it's fun to do the starting pitching and bullpen as well. So with that in mind, strikeouts, Tyler, who's your starting leader and who is your relief leader?
Wes Nesky for the starter. I think as long as he's not on an innings limit, which I have not, unless you guys have read anything about it. I haven't read anything about him being on an innings limit. I think he's coming in with something to prove. I think he's going to be the strikeout leader for the starters. And I'm jumping on Alzolay. I like Alzolay a lot. I think kind of like what Juice and Joey said. I think this guy's going to be I think he's going to find his niche in the bullpen and really just push it forward.
I like it. Joey?
Same picks. Going Steele and I'm going Alzolay. Wes Nesky, I don't think you might not hear that he's on a pitch count, but I think he might be on a pitch count because the inning limits, because he hasn't pitched that many innings in the minors yet. So that's the only reason why. Otherwise, I think it'd be closer between him and Steele. And Stroman and Taillon might just innings their way into the most strikeouts. So you never really know. This is kind of a tough one, to be honest with you.
Yeah, 100% Juice.
Yeah, way to go, Joey. Just stole my point there. I think Jameson Taillon is going to be the one who leads just strictly because he's pitching more often. And I do think that Hayden Wesneski will be on some type of innings. But for strikeouts out of the bullpen, I'm going to take Brad Boxberger.
Ooh. I like it. I like
Dark
it.
horse.
Yeah.
I like that pick, Juice. I'm gonna take for sure Justin Steele because, as you said, Wisniewski's probably going to be on some kind of limit of some kind, and then the other one, it definitely Alzolay for the bullpen.
I like it. Quickly to the comments here. Jeremiah says was nasty, obviously, and he also has Adbert out of the pen. And then Scott says 205 strikeouts for Wes Nasty with Assad as his pick for strikeouts out of the pen.
And
I was
Patrick Wisdom.
watch a world. God damn it, just watch a world though where like Wesneski and the Cubs spit in our eye collectively and just like let him pitch like 180 innings and he does strike out like 200 plus guys somehow this year. I mean, Spencer Strider struck out over 200 guys last year in like 138 innings. So it's not like it can't be done. Not to say that he's gonna do it, but again, just further, saying it could be. I have Steele as well out of the starting rotation. I think it's going to be close. I think I think we saw the steal last season toward the end of the year where he finally found the balance of the K numbers and the innings numbers, right? We saw it early in the season. If he had a high K game, it was 5 innings. You know what I mean? Or if he went 7, he was only striking out 3 or 4 guys. We started to see it kind of find its, water found its leveling point with Justin in terms of, he was consistently going 6 and finding a way to kind of sneak his way into that 9 and 10 strikeout number with 6 innings. So I'm going to still take Steele there. I do like the Taillon pick, though. I thought about that one as well, Juice, just because my hunch tells me he pitches 185 innings somehow this year. That's just the kind of guy he is as a workhorse type pitcher. And then out of the pen, you guys talked me into it. I'm also going to take Adbert. I think he's just – I see a world where, especially once they announced that he – kind of was bought in and wanted to come out of the pen, like his words, he wanted to be a reliever. To me, that just means I think he understands how good he can be as a reliever. And there's a world where he absolutely, maybe if this team is, really starting to take off and starts winning games and they need an elite guy in that 9th inning role, maybe he finds a way to have a 20 save season, especially, if there's a lot of interchangeability early in the season. I think there's a world that he still gets to 20 saves if he does end up taking over the closing role. Last statistical category before we get into some of the fun ones here to kind of round out the show, boys. Stolen bases. We'll flip it back around on the other way. Nick, I think we ended with you, so we will start with you here.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm going 100% with Nico Horner for sure. I think he had 20 last year with the clown bases and the disengagement rules. I'm assuming he's going to have about 25 to 26 this year. So, I mean, that's my hope. But yeah.
I like it. Juice?
Yan Gomes. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to take that's how close these bases are now. Get them running. Everybody keep going. No, I'm gonna also take Nico. I think that with where he's at in the lineup, the hitters hitting behind him, I think they're going to be pretty damn aggressive this year. Would not be surprised if Christopher Morel gets enough play and plays his way in that if he's not up there too.
I dig it. Joey?
Yeah, I wonder how much Dansby will be running. Depends how many singles maybe Nico Horner is going to have, and he'll be ahead of him, it sounds like, in the lineup. But I'm going to go with Nico. I don't know how you can't with the way that if he's leading off and there's nobody blocking him, he's going to be on. He's going to be aggressive. He's that type of player. He's very effective. Yeah, I think he goes for 30+. I'll one-up Nick a little bit. I think he goes for 30+ this year on the bags.
I dig it. Tyler?
I've got to go with the board. It's Nico easily, but what you said, don't count Christopher out. Do not count Christopher Morel out.
I like
Nico
it.
Horner for sure.
And Jeremiah, in agreement with you guys about Morel, he jumped in real early with that one. That one, I think he popped that in before that point even got brought up. So touche, Jeremiah. You got your head in the right places. Scott says 29 stolen bags for Nico this year. I don't think that's a crazy number at all. I think that's a very realistic
No, I don't.
number.
I think that's actually spot on.
That might be. That if this is on record, Scott, just remember that. So if he ends up with 29, we're going to send you a Cubs on Tap t-shirt or something. We'll find a way because that's a hell of a pull if you nail it on the head.
We should honestly already be sending them a Cubs on Tap.
That's true. That's true. We should. We'll get that figured out at some point. I'm going to go with a little bit of a hot take and bear with me on this. I have a 2-way tie for first base. Like, I think this is going to happen. If it does, I'm going to go play the lottery if these two actually tie in the lead for stolen bags. Because last season, these players respectively had 20 and 18 stolen bags. So not terribly far off. I have Nico and Dansby tying for the stolen base lead.
Like that.
Because those two were runners last season with, again, the smaller bases and the engagement rules not yet in place. This year, if Nico gets on and doubles his way, how many double steals can they run? How cool would that shit be? Nico taking off from second and Dansby taking off from first with Mancini or somebody at the plate. That way, if it's a hit and run is on and maybe Mancini doesn't swing and it's a clear ball and those two are easily swiping a bag. We saw this Cubs team run a shit ton at the end of 2021 when they got some, when the roster was different, there was a little bit of speed on the roster. They ran a ton last year with, in my opinion, significantly less talent on the base paths from a speed perspective. I agree with the Morel take. I think he's absolutely up there as long as he gets enough playing time. But to me, like I see a world where Dansby and Nico are both going for 25 bags this year. Like I think that's absolutely possible. So that's my prediction with those two. Jeremiah says, imagine a triple steal. That would be absolutely banana land.
That's wild.
I would lose my mind if that happened. That would be so cool, though. All right, 3 last categories here. We're going to go with player most excited to watch, a record prediction, and then a hot take for the season. So going back around, Tyler, who is the player you are most excited to watch in 2023?
It's Nico. It's Nico Horner. I wanted to say Cody Bellinger just because I am excited to see how the season is, but I just feel like Nico Horner is as close. He's the most sure thing I feel like on this roster right now, and I think you could bet that he's going to be like, as far as what we've been saying about him, his predictions. I think they'll hit the stuff we've said about him. I think will be the most closest that we predicted. I think so. Nico Horner.
I like it, Joey.
I have to go with Dansby, I think, just because he was the big signing. He's the guy that's going to draw the most eyes, obviously, and he's going to be the most critically watched, I think, from fans' perspective. Like, Bellinger doesn't work out, fine. It's a 1-year contract. Oh, that didn't work out. People will be bitching, but people will really be bitching if Dansby doesn't produce, and they need to kind of tone that down maybe a little bit and understand that, yeah, guys usually in their first year, their big contract, they don't produce at their career norms. I think he's one of the rare guys where he could exceed his career norms this year. Like Juice said, he's kind of in that ascending type of category, I think. I'm really excited to see what he can do. Look, you see what he did today. 4 great plays at shortstop, hits a bomb. Like, you're getting that at shortstop. We saw it last year with Nico, but how many games did we actually see 4 great plays like that and a home run? Like, that's pretty damn dynamic and electric. I'm super jacked to see what Dansby can do this season.
I dig it. Juice.
I'm going to take Seiya Suzuki because there's so much of this rides on the fact of his success. And by that, I mean how quickly the Cubs can truly be World Series contenders. Because if he is not the guy that you paid all this money to go out and be the middle of that lineup, that power guy, then they've kind of set themselves back in that sense. You know, Bellinger's a nice story. Don't get me wrong. I hope he, has some type of resurgence of his career. But Seiya Suzuki is what they paid to be the middle of this lineup. And he needs to come back and be that superstar that I think a lot of us have seen for spurts. But he's got to stay healthy. And 2, I very much think that if he's able to do that, it almost puts them in the Ohtani sweepstakes even more, because great players love to play with other great players. And the Cubs need him to be great to even entertain Ohtani to want to come here. So that's my tinfoil hat, follow the future free agency mode. And I'm taking Seiya Suzuki.
I like it. Nick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking Belly for sure. I love prove it contracts. I think he's going to be a wild card. Without that noise from LA, he can turn, and if he gets anywhere near the form that he was when he was MVP, I mean, you're talking about totally changing the narrative of this Cubs season. I mean, if you have Bellinger producing at that level, you're talking about way higher win totals, and I'll save that, but way higher win totals. So I'm taking Belly.
I like it. You guys all took players I am certainly excited to watch. Don't get me wrong. And I was having a mental tussle between Suzuki and this player, but I'm going to go with this player. Is this going to sound like a homer pick? Yes, it's going to sound like a homer pick, but I have good reason for it. And that is our friend Justin Steele, because we got a taste of what he can be in that second half last year. Like he was the best pitcher in baseball that nobody was talking about, because he was playing on a Cubs team that was underperforming in the win column all season long because of their atrocious start. I mean, the stat at one point, I forget who it was. We were on the show. Juice, it might have been you, buddy. I think it was you and I that did the show. But this was like mid-August, and it was since the beginning of July. the like top 5 pitchers in baseball that all had sub 2 ERAs, and it was like Verlander and Gallen and Kelly, who Merrill Kelly had a banana land type year last year, but Justin Steele was the best of all of them.
Mhm.
Or I think the only person that might have been better was Verlander. I think had it just slightly lower, but like he was untouchable for stretches last year. And again, that's just, in my opinion, just the surface that Justin is touching from a professional standpoint. He's been in Arizona. He lives there now full time. He's been working with this pitching, coaching staff to get right. Man, if he builds on that second half and the back doesn't limit him at all this year, and he just is able to go for it, and he can throw 150 to 170 innings, son of a bitch, man. I mean, we're looking at a guy that maybe is a sneaky dark horse for a Cy Young. I mean, I think he's got that level of talent. That's why I'm excited to see our boy Justin Steele. I really want to see him build off of that, what he did last season. And from the comments, I'll show their comments fully at the end because they also included their predictions and hot takes. But Scott really didn't give one unless it's his boy Matt Mervis. It appears to be a guy that he's excited to watch, which is fair because there's a good chance we see Mervis at some point this season. And Jeremiah, in agreement with you, Nick, said Belly as well. Gentlemen, record, you don't have to give me wins and losses because I'm struggling to do math right now with 162 to what that equates to. So just give me a win total. And we'll go right back around the horn here. Nick, I think we left off with you, buddy, right? All right, we'll start up with you then for that win total.
Yep, 90.
90,
wow.
Just flat out
Right
90.
there. Yep.
All right.
Spicy.
We're gonna compete with the shitbirds, but we're gonna get there. 90 wins. They're not gonna have 90, but we're gonna get 90. I know.
We're having fun this year, boys.
I like.
I hope he's right.
Yeah.
I do too.
I think we all hope. Juice, what do you got for win total?
I got a 79. I think they're very average this year. That's just my.
Sour Juice has made an appearance on the.
I'm sorry. I got to be realistic, man. I think that we have, and let me explain it. I think that we have stretches of baseball that we watch and we can see that the proof is going into the pudding, but to me, they're just a bat or two short. Like that, they're gonna. I fear so much about this team that they're gonna struggle to score, and I think we're gonna see a lot of great pitching performances. But I just don't know if we're going to see a lot of great hitting performances. And you're going to need a good balance of both to make the playoffs.
So you're saying they're an Ohtani bat away from being a legitimate contender? Is that what I'm hearing?
Please, God. That would be the greatest thing ever. I will buy every jersey in every color. And I will buy my neighbors every jersey in every color. I'm telling you right now, it'd be unbelievable.
I love it. Joey, what's your win total?
84 and I guess 78, right? 84 and 78 would be. I think they're better this year. I do. I think Juice's concerns are warranted. I think that's exactly what the problem is going to be this year for the Cubs. Is one batter or two batters too short, and hopefully my thinking behind the 84 and why I go a little bit higher, I guess, is because I'm hoping some of these pitching performances will outweigh some of the poor offensive performances, and you'll sneak by with maybe a 1 or 2 win, run win, a little bit of extra 1 or 2 run type of win. So, I don't know. That's also the positive type of thinking, I guess. I'm hoping for it. I'm hoping for Nick's prediction. Let's get Nick's prediction. Let's get even more than that. But.
Yeah, fuck yeah. If they're winning 90 games, like you said, Joey, we're having a fucking time on Cubs on Tap this season. Tyler, what is your win total?
Well, then, boys, we're gonna have a hell of a season because 162. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Let's go. 82. 82. I like Nick's optimism, but I'm going 82.
82. I dig it. Quickly sharing from the comments again. I'll show theirs with the hot takes portion. But Scott says his win total is 94. I love the optimism, Scott. I really do. If this team wins 94 games, I might find a way to consume a small bottle of Malort. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of celebrating at Cubs on Tap if they win 94 games. I can tell you that. And then Jeremiah has 88 wins. I'm actually going to go right in between Jeremiah's total and Nick's total, and I'm going to be really optimistic. I'm going to say 89 wins. I see a world where this team catches fire on some crazy streak, and I mean, this team was 7 games above 500 in the second half last year with a half of the roster that they have now. I agree. I think they're going to need a lot of those 2-1, 1-0, 3-2 type wins. But I think they have the pitching depth where they can get that. And I think 89 is certainly a possibility. Tyler,
here's the thing. Yeah, here's the thing. The NL Central has potential to be a bloodbath this year. Like last season, St. Louis won 93 games. I don't think that's happening. I really don't. Like just a barely above 500 team could win this division. Like I hate to talk about that crap division, but look at the AL Central last year. It was a shit show for like the majority of the season. Who knows? Maybe we all just beat the crap out of each other. It's the last man standing wins between us and whoever else decides to step up in the NL Central this year. I don't know.
I think something too, just quickly to just keep in mind. I'm not trying to say that that's going to be the case, but because there's less divisional games now, like there's a world where maybe you play really well against a couple of your divisional opponents, but you get absolutely shellacked by the AL East or the NL East, right? Like there is a world where there's
or like St. Louis just gets bitch slapped by Oakland.
I would love to see that. That would be so much fun to watch them get throttled by the A's. But again, I think that's going to be a dynamic that a lot of people aren't talking enough about is how this is going to play out, because every year there was such balance in divisions. There's always a bad division and a really good division, right? But like it's because they all kind of beat the shit out of each other, right? Because you played so many divisional games. Now you're scaling that back fairly significantly to, now play everybody. Who's to say these aren't chances for the Cubs to beat up on some of these other teams like the Oakland Athletics, maybe, or, I don't even want to say an AL East team, maybe the Red Sox this year. Like, I just don't feel like there's a really bad team in the AL East, which is weird. Red Sox are probably the worst, but like you have 4 teams in that division that can make noise, which is absolutely insane. But again, maybe there is a world where, think back, what was it? The 07, didn't the Cubs only have 83 wins and win the division? In 2000,
was it that low? I don't know if it was that low. I could be
maybe 88, 80, something like that. I thought they won like 80 something. 80, yeah.
07?
I'm looking it up real quick because I am
87.
Was it?
For some reason, I think they won like 88.
No, 85. Okay. 85. So, I mean, they got 2 games on the Brewers. The Brewers were 83 and 79. The Cardinals were 78 and 84. So, like, maybe there is a world where, they are, an 85, 86 win team and they win the division. Like, I think that's a real possibility. Again, just something to keep in mind. And perhaps now for the most fun part of this predictions piece is the hot take, because I can't wait to hear what you guys come up with. But Tyler, you get the show first. What is your hot take? And give me something spicy. Like, I don't want that, mom and pop, like, oh, I think this is spicy, but like, it's because you're Irish and you eat potatoes and gravy every day and you don't eat spicy. Like, give me something hot that's gonna like you're shitting out your ass for 5 days because it was so hot. Give me something good. Give me something good.
Cody Bellinger is your NL comeback player of the year.
I dig that.
I can see that.
I like that a lot. Joey?
I think Trey Mancini hits over 25 home runs this year. I don't know if that's a hot take. I think he's closer to where he was before he had cancer and missed time. I think Mancini's having a big season this year.
I like that. I like that a lot. Juice.
All right. So mine's more going to be like a template for watching for the year. My hot take is if the Cubs have below a 3.80 team ERA, they will be in the playoffs. The name you a group of teams that did that last year: the Dodgers, the Houston Astros, the New York Yankees, the Tampa Bay Rays, the Cleveland Guardians, the Atlanta Braves, the Seattle Mariners, the LA Angels, and the St. Louis Cardinals. What do those teams minus the Angels have in common? They all made the playoffs. That is your guide to watching this year. And I even went back to 2021 to check my theory. It all happened again. All those teams that are in the top 10 in team ERA make the playoffs. Regardless if you can hit or not, that's the way that the Cubs get there. And that's how they're going to have to do it. They're going to have to be in that top 5. Now, to add to it, it means that they have to jump 10 spots from last year. They were ranked 20th in team ERA. Find the 10 spots that you can hop, and if they do that, they're in the playoffs. That's my guide for Washington this year, and also my hot take.
I like it. And Scott said earlier, to your point on your win total, but I'm bringing it up now here. He says Juice is the grounding rod of the Cubs on Tap podcast, which is a 1,000% correct. We all have our roles here, and Juice certainly fills his well. Nick, what is your hot take?
In a way, the hot take was 90 wins, but we're winning this division. We're having a good freaking time. That's my hot take.
I like that. I like that a lot. A couple of fun ones. Scott says in the comments here, David Ross is your manager of the year. I think that's a fun one. He also brought this up. He fully believes Mervis will be up early and make a run for Rookie of the Year. He had the 94 wins, and he says Wesneski is starting first playoff game in October.
Yes.
And then Jeremiah says they make it to the divisional round of the playoffs as his hot take. Gentlemen, I want to be spicy. I really want to be spicy. I don't know how I be this spicy, but I'm going to be this spicy. The Cubs have 4 players hit more than 25 home runs.
I like that.
Ooh,
I like that too.
That hit more than 25 home runs. And I'll give you the 4.
I can see that,
Dansby,
Yeah.
it's going to be Mancini, it's going to be Seiya, and it's going to be Belly. There's your 4.
Who was the
And I'll
first
tell
one?
you, Dansby.
Oh, okay. So you said so repeat it. I'm sorry.
So Swanson, Seiya, Mancini, and Suzuki.
Okay.
Or did I say Seiya twice? Belly. I don't know. I'm exhausted. So my brain's 95 different fucking directions right now. But and again, if you can find 4 guys that give you 25 homers, there's a world where maybe that run concern isn't as much of a thing as we are concerned about. And then to Juice's point, if that team ERA is in the top 10 in the league, they're chilling in October. They're playing meaningful baseball. We're doing meaningful podcasts beyond October 1st, which would be cool and fucking tough. And that's what I'm here for. So that's my hot take. 4 guys hitting 25 or more bombs for the Cubbies this season. Gentlemen, this was a fun show. This was a barn burner of a show too. Almost 90 minutes here. Again, I know for certain that 80% of us will be at opening day. We're hoping we can make it 100, and we will discuss that on the side again as a podcast to ensure if something needs to happen or we need to make things work. But it's going to be a blast. That'll be the next time you hear from us, Cubs on Tap, and probably any variety. I unfortunately have some family business to take care of the next couple of days, so I will probably be pretty off the grid. But we're back, baby. Thursday's opening day. We're going to be there. You're going to see lots of content. Be sure to be following along with the Cubs on Tap account. Follow all of us personally on the Bluebird app as well. We'll be posting plenty of good stuff and making good content and hopefully having some cool videos come out after the fact, just like we did with CubsCon. And we still have a lot of CubsCon stuff we haven't even released yet. So that just goes to show how much we've recorded, and hopefully we'll do the same when it comes to really opening weekend. Overall, really quick, there was something I wanted to address earlier. Oh my God, we had so many good comments and so many comments. So thank you to everybody that hopped in as always. Jeremiah wanted to know earlier, so you guys are going to be there for the second game on Saturday. Tyler, I know you head back, I think Friday. Joey, I believe you also probably are heading back to where you are. Juice, same case. I will be there on Saturday. I know that for certain. Jake says he'll be out in left field on Saturday. Jake, find me because we will also be in left field, buddy. It's gonna be a blast.
Are we getting the big? Are we getting the big bats? Are we getting the big beer bats? By the way, did you guys see that?
I hope so. Jake, Boosh, we'll text you, but we need to know if you're breaking them out on Saturday. We'll do them with you. We'll happily do them with you. That would be an absolute blast. But guys, it's going to be a fun season. This is the preview show. Obviously, it's going to be fun looking back on all these hot takes and win predictions and who does what and see who was right at the end of the year. But it's not a sprint. It's a marathon, boys. 162 coming up in just a few days is when it starts. And it's going to be a blast. We got a great crew here at Cubs on Tap, and super excited to be on the microphone with all you guys this season as we break down Cubs baseball. And I don't know when the hell our first show is going to be, and maybe it's Friday at some point during the day or something. I don't know when the first show is going to be recorded. It might not be till Sunday. It might be an opening weekend recap before we start getting into our daily recap shows, as you are all accustomed to, our great followers and listeners here at Cubs on Tap. And as always, want to remind everybody, gentlemen, Cubs on Tap, one of 2 official Cubs podcasts at the On Tap Sports Network. Check out our friends over at the Dingers Podcast. You can find them at Dinger Cubs on Twitter and Instagram. Follow all the boys, Kevin, Jeff, Mitch, Booge. They're all great and the best. Be sure to follow them. Be sure to follow us. Again, we're at Cubbies on Tap, Cubbis. That's Twitter and Instagram. Follow me. I'm at Loose on Tap, at Joey Knows Nothing, at Juice on Tap, at Teddy Freddy 270, and at Nick_on Tap. Be sure to be following along with all of us as well. Starting again this weekend, lots of content coming from opening day. You know the drill: Bulls, Bears, Blackhawks. We got it all. And yes, Cubs fans, we all have miserable friends that unfortunately have to root for the Southsiders. Be sure to send them over to our friends over at Sox on Tap, as they do a great job giving you hot takes and analysis, covering the boys on the other side of town. On Tap Sports Network. OnTapSportsNet.com, at OnTapSportsNet on social media, On Tap Sports Network. Go ahead and check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. That's when you know my brain's starting to burn out, when I can't recite that word for word like I normally do. But gentlemen, always a pleasure. This was fun. It's good always to get a full barn on. Obviously, probably won't be a ton of these throughout the regular season, just by nature and by design. But if we can have them and we can get all of us on a microphone, we will do our best to do so. Gentlemen, what do you guys say? We out of here the only way we know how. That Cubs on Tap.
Fuck
Tyler,
Cardinals.
you got a promo for us or something?
Do I have a promo? Ron, it's WrestleMania week. Of course I got a promo. Real quick, though, I won't get sued by Bruce Buffer, will I?
I don't know.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. See, normally, folks, this time of the podcast, we usually say, fuck the Cardinals. And fuck the Cardinals. You guys lost 24-1 earlier today. Your season's over with. But this week, fuck the Brewers, because this week, our main event of the week, opening day, it's time! 9 rounds for the opening day championship of the world. Fighting out of the blue corner, he's pitching right-handed, standing in 5 feet 7 inches, weighing in at 180 pounds. Fighting out of Medford, New York, Marcus the Strocho Stroman. And in the red corner for the Milwaukee Brewers, Corbin Burns. May God have mercy upon you.
That's incredible.
Oh my god!
Holy shit!
And cut.
And if we weren't getting sued, we are now.
Yeah. and hopefully, let's go Cubbies.